Chicago's a meat-eating town, and you'll find various recipes on ribs, from the tuggier, more stick-to-the-bone south side rib, and I think perhaps maybe the further north you come, the tenderer they get. We've been known for a fall-off-the-bone barbecue rib recipe for almost 40 years now. So I'll be walking through the dining room and somebody will ask me for a steak knife. They'll haven't started eating the ribs, and I'll tell them that they can pick up their spoon and go ahead and cut it with a spoon. That's how tender they are. Having a great rib reputation for 40 years, so we get a lot of calls if we have other things on our menu other than ribs. You're going to find a menu that is varied, from steaks, seafood, chicken dishes, pastas. Every person's vision of the Gale Street Inn and what it is. Some view it as the nicest place in town, and others as the casual place to come. It's kind of like a American bistro, if you would.
So Glenn, the Gale Street Inn has been around so long in Jefferson Park. Tell us why it's your pick.
It's like an old-fashioned supper club. It's great portions, great solid food, very comfortable, big stuffed booths, not pretentious whatsoever, and just a great, nice, mellow atmosphere.
And what about the food?
Well, it's primarily a lot of red meat. There's a lot of prime rib and steaks and chops, and really well known for the ribs. So no dieting there, but it's all very good. They're really well known for the ribs and the prime ribs.
So Larry, are you a rib guy?
I'm a red meat guy. Doesn't it show? I have to say everything he said is right on target. And just a great place. You don't have to worry about the dress code. You don't have to worry about if you're clean.
How do you eat your ribs when you go to a rib place?
Well, let me tell you, I've got the barbecue sauce on my nose, and I've got it dripping down the side of my face, and it's on my shirt, and I've eaten a great deal.
You don't wear a good tie there.
No, I won't.
Our server was also very attentive. It was a little chilly in the room, and I just kind of mentioned it in passing. It was a little cold, and she was all over it. She had everybody and their brother out there trying to get the temperature back up, and then both she stopped by and the manager had stopped by to see if everything was okay.
Well, it seems that George, who's the owner, takes really good care of the restaurant. He's also the kind of manager that you probably can call there and he'll actually pick up the phone.
Yeah.
People like George, in his experience, he's worked at different restaurants throughout the city. He's worked for Melman at Papagus. He's worked for Arnie Morton, and he's been a server. He's been a manager, and I think that kind of makes a great operator.
My wife and I, she looked over the menu and she said, if you want two of their favorite things, we ought to get half the chicken and half the ribs. And I did. And then I ate mine, then I ate hers. It was very nice.
I think, what did you try when you went there?
I had the most amazing ribs. They were so good. You read, fall off the bone kind of on the menu, and the server had mentioned that too. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And sure enough, it was the most amazing ribs. They were so good. And my boyfriend was looking on the menu, kind of debating back and forth between the ribs and something else, and I just kept going, gotta get the ribs, and he went with something else, which was also good, but he ended up eating part of my ribs just because I kept saying, you gotta taste these. It was a very good sauce, and lived up to the build-up that both the server and the menu had given it. It was very, very good.
Right. And I think you can go to a lot of restaurants that do serve ribs, and when they say they fall off the bone, it's, it can go either way with ribs, and I think the way that they prepare theirs is pretty special because they cook them 3 different times. First they braise the ribs, and then they bake them, and then before they serve them at the table, they actually get broiled. So I think that the way they cook them over such a long time and the way they're marinated really kind of just makes the meat just fall off the bone.
I've actually gone there with 4 people, had 4 entrees, and ordered a side of ribs for us to all pick through, almost like an appetizer. Yeah, you can't miss them. Talking about the ribs, so I've got to talk about what I had. And I had the prime rib, which is what I usually get there, which is a jumbo, it's a huge cut. They've got 3 different sizes, so you can, however hungry you are. But I had never had the blue cheese crust on top, which if you didn't have it, you got to go back and try, because it just makes it an entirely different dish. It was so rich. And just put this blue cheese on and put it back into the oven and bake it on top, and it's just unbelievable.
I was a little hesitant because I usually just eat downtown, and I was looking at how to get there. I'm like, man, we are far from home, even though it wasn't really that far from home. And I was so surprised when we got there because they have a parking lot, which is always a big bonus. They had a lot of different, they have a couple different rooms depending on what kind of seating you're looking for.
Larry, when you were there, what did the customer clientele seem like? Did you see a good mix of different kinds of people?
I got the feeling that I was in a neighborhood place, local. Obviously, we weren't local, but I think kind of fit in like everybody else. But I sensed that in the bar area, there were a lot of guys who considered it their like, quote, local tavern.
Right. What makes a Chicago place to you? Like, what stands out as a Chicago restaurant?
You mean an example-wise?
Yeah, an example of when you say the term Chicago restaurant, like what means a Chicago restaurant
Well,
to
a
you?
neighborhood place always helps out because then you know they're not trying to get on a magazine cover. They're actually trying to take care of the people in their neighborhood, and by that makes them good neighbors.
I think it's great too that even though, Larry, you aren't from the neighborhood, you felt like you were part of the neighborhood, which that way you're not, when you go there, you're not sticking out going, ooh, I so don't belong here. And you're not being from the city, that just kind of proves it, that you can kind of walk in there and still feel like you belong.
I think that's a very strong. I mean, I don't think people write about it, but you certainly sense it, and I think that's a very big positive.
Glenn, this is your favorite place. Wrap it up for us.
Great meat, great time, great price.
Great. And Eileen, for you?
Amazing ribs.
And what about for you?
I feel very comfortable there.
Excellent. Well, you can find the ribs at Gale Street Inn, which is at 4914 North Milwaukee Avenue in Chicago. The number is 773-725-1300. They're open Tuesday through Friday for lunch and dinner, and Saturday through Monday for dinner only. Reservations are accepted, and the average check without the drinks is about $20 a person.